I'm Mark.
And I'm Josh.
And this is Alter Ego Comics TV, episode number 85. And as usual, we will kick things off with comic news. And really the biggest news within the last week was the passing of Joe Kubert, basically an icon within the comic book industry. The guy worked in 9 decades. Worked in comics for 9 decades. He's 85, but he worked in 9 decades. He passed away at the age of 85 and was still actively involved in comics. But, I mean, he was 13 years old when he got his first gig in comics. In 1939, he was an assistant just kind of helping out and fixing things up. Went on to pencil a variety of things at DC Comics, most notably Hawkman, and did pretty much every war title that DC did, from Our Army at War to Men at War to GI Combat to all that stuff that was out there. And he co-created Sergeant Rock, who's arguably the most famous of the military heroes in comic books. Joe Kubert is also very well known for founding the Joe Kubert School. I have to get the right name here because it was called something different when it started. The Joe Kubert School of Cartoon and Graphic Art in New Jersey. Now it's just called the Kubert School. And really, a lot of current comic book artists are graduates of that school, including Steve Bissette and Shane Davis, and of course Joe's sons Andy and Adam Kubert. And locally here, actually, we have a customer, Monty Sheldon, who attended the Kubert School, and he's one of our locals here. Tom Zoller is another name that you may recognize, who's been to the store a few times, who also attended the Kubert School. So this is the place to go if you want to learn how to be the best cartoonist that you can be, and it still is active in New Jersey. Joe was still, as I said earlier, working in comics. He was inking over Andy Kubert's pencils on Before Watchmen Night Owl, and I believe those are all done. I could be wrong though, so we may see an inking change down the road. And if you go back and watch our review of the first issue of Before Watchmen Night Owl, we both commented how it really looks more like Joe Kubert than Andy Kubert. So Joe was bringing a lot to the inking process, so that it looked a lot like his work. Also, he's got an upcoming anthology series called Joe Kubert Presents, which is actually shipping in October. It's a 6-issue miniseries that starts in October, and again, my understanding is that it is completely finished, so we will see all 6 issues of Joe Kubert Presents starting in October. So just a sad day for the comic community when we learned that he passed away. A lot of the veterans, a lot of these guys that inspired a generation of comic book readers and creators are starting to leave us due to old age, and that's kind of sad. So share, if you'd like, in the comments below your thoughts and memories of Joe Kubert. And we look forward to seeing Joe Kubert Present starting in October, to see, because that was his baby. I mean, that's him writing, him drawing, and also him bringing in people that have caught his eye to do some anthology, one-off type stories. So we're really looking forward to that. So on a lighter note, we'll move into last week's top picks and start with Revival number 2 by Tim Seeley and Mike Norton. Revival number 1 was a sellout at our store. It was a sellout across the country, has gone to a second printing, which also sold out. I would like a third printing so that I can continue to sell this Image Comics. But Revival number 2 came out, and this is kind of like, it's got a Walking Dead feel to it. There's something that brings the dead back. There's just one day, all of a sudden everybody that was deceased is up and walking around, and they still have the physical scars of being dead. Kind of like zombies, but they're not zombies. They're interacting somewhat normally with their families, except for some people who are really weird. The first issue was okay, I thought. This issue I liked a lot better. I felt like we got more characterization. We got to know the main characters a little bit better. And there's more of an emotional connection, I think, in the second issue than in the first issue. But so far, I'm really enjoying it. And judging by the sellout status at Alter Ego, I think a lot of you are too. So check it out.
Also picked last week, we had DC Universe Presents number 12. Now this is DC's kind of anthology title where you'll do brief one-off or shorts runs, and this is a one and done about the Kid Flash, written by Fabian Nicieza. I'm sorry, Fabian. By Fabian, the singer from the days. Yes, with art by Jorge Jimenez, and it's really fun. It picks up pretty much directly from what's been going on in some of the Teen Titans issues with the Sauroid, kind of half dinosaur kids coming across from the weird, wacky island. But you don't need to know any of that. There's a great recap by Kid Flash in the first couple pages that tells you everything you need to know. And it's just good to see Bart Allen being Bart Allen, running around, cracking wise. I mean, it's one of the things normally I complain about having too many words on a page. But for some reason, the Kid Flash, the idea that he's moving this fast, he's talking this fast, they fill up the pages with all these just asides and wisecracks and pop culture references. And it's just so much fun. So definitely, if you've been checking out Teen Titans by Scott Lobdell, the Universe Presents is right up your alley. And even if you hadn't, if you're just a fan of the Flashes or of Bart, it's a great one and done.
And it's also now conveniently located right next to Teen Titans on our comic racks. So you don't have to even look for it very hard. It's right there next to Teen Titans. Before Watchmen, Rorschach, #1, and we had fun with this last week. We were talking about Rorschach, and then the guy that plays Rorschach passed away, like a day after we were talking about this. It's crazy. If you watch episode 84, there's even some cool, Welcome Back Kotter music and some image manipulation, and then within moments, the guy passed away. Weird, is all I gotta say.
So what I want to see is Before Watchmen Joe Quesada.
Oh... Joe doesn't watch this anyway, so... but anyway, on to the real thing. Before Watchmen, Rorschach, #1 by Brian Azzarello and Lee Bermejo. Again, the Before Watchmen series, love it or hate it. That doesn't make sense, because if you hate it, you're not even going to pay attention to this. But put your judgments aside and enjoy it for what it is. A good story. All of the books have been really solid stories, delving into the past, into the untold stories of these Watchmen characters, and really all we had to know them by was the original 12-issue Watchmen miniseries back from the 1985-86. So we're getting to learn a lot more about these characters, and for me, definitely the high point of this issue was Bermejo's art. It is awesome. I mean, anytime this guy draws something, I'm there. And it wasn't an instant thing, because I wasn't blown away by his work on Luthor. His work on Joker was pretty good, but it was really Batman Noel that sold me. And he did some variant covers for Marvel too, for Daredevil last year and some other things. But his artwork on this is outstanding. So for that reason alone, you should check it out. But it's also Brian Azzarello writing, and again, it's Rorschach, who, as I said last week, is arguably the most popular of the Watchmen characters. So another thumbs up, another solid Before Watchmen intro.
And also a pick from last week, I bring you both glad tidings and sad tidings. Saga #6 is on the stands. There shall be rejoicing. And it continues to be awesome. My pick almost every time it comes out. It's just consistently great. I went through, after reading the new issue, I went back and reread all of them straight through. This is going to read amazing in trade, which coincidentally comes out in just over a month in October.
Yes.
October, right? September? Comes out soon.
Comes out in October. It does come out in October.
Okay. Saga 6, obviously I can't tell you a whole lot without spoiling the storyline, but if you're reading Saga, you're right. If you're not reading Saga, you're wrong. It does a great job of continuing the series. I mean, obviously it's an ongoing book, but there is a sense of closure. This is the first story arc. This is the first section of their story. It's kind of like the end of A New Hope. We've blown up the Death Star, but there's still a rebellion. There's still things that need to go, and it's just so awesome. Fiona Staples' artwork, Brian K. Vaughan's writing, great. Which brings me to the sad tidings that this will be your last chance to purchase Saga in single issue form for 2 months. Issue 7 is not going to be out till November. You will have the trade to tide you over a little bit, but I think we can all agree that I would rather have him take 2 months off than do a fill-in issue with some other artist. Staples has been knocking it out of the park. She did oversized issue for the first one, and the other ones were over page count. So she's keeping the book on time. I'd much rather take a gap than have it filled in by somebody else, because her art is a very strong part of this book and really complements the story.
Yeah, I mean, as Josh said, the first issue was oversized. Not only is she doing the interiors, but she's doing the covers for every issue. Show me any artist right now working in comics that is working that hard, that consistently as well on a monthly schedule. So she needs a break. And so we're going to give her a break for 2 months, and then she'll be back with a vengeance with issue #7 and some other freaky stuff. It'll be awesome. Saga was a toss-up for pick of the week for me between Saga and Daredevil #17 by Mark Waid and Mike Allred. Mike Allred of Madman fame, not Mad Men, but the comic Madman, and he's done a lot of work for Marvel recently. In fact, they just announced last week or two that he's going to be doing FF with Matt Fraction. He's going to be the penciler on the new FF series. So he brings something completely different to the Daredevil book. Each artist that has been on this series is very unique. They have a different style, a different feel, a different look. whether you're talking about Paulo Rivera or Marcos Martin, Chris Samnee, and now Mike Allred, who's just doing this single issue, the single fill-in issue. But this is a nice flashback story featuring Matt and Foggy. At the end of the last issue, there was a big blow-up between Foggy and Matt, and they are no longer Nelson and Murdoch attorneys at law. They are now going their separate ways. So this is a nice flashback, and Waid is just the consummate storyteller. I don't know what else to say. I mean, the series won 3 or 4 Eisners this year. Everyone that we've recommended it to has loved it. It's one of the most consistently good books out there. Marvel's best, one of Marvel's best, if not the best, that they're publishing right now. And thankfully, it's sticking around and surviving through the Marvel Now tomfoolery, which will be happening later in the fall. So, Daredevil 17, it was close. It was a photo finish between Saga and Daredevil 17, but DD had to take it. Also, I'm throwing in a runner-up, not a runner-up. What do I want to say here? An honorable mention this week. Not a monthly issue, but a trade paperback, a collected edition that just came out. Betrayal of the Planet of the Apes. This is by Corinna Bechko and Gabriel Hardman. They both wrote it, and then Gabriel Hardman did the artwork on it. You may recognize his stuff from Hulk and from Thunderbolts. He did some Thunderbolts work. But I'm a huge Planet of the Apes fan. The original movie is one of my favorites. The other ones, they're kind of fun to watch on a Saturday afternoon if you're not doing anything. But this is the first Planet of the Apes comic book that really ties in and has that feel of the original film. It takes place 20 years before Planet of the Apes, and the only characters that are in this from the original movies are Dr. Zaius and General Ursus. And it's a legal murder mystery, political intrigue type of book, and the artwork is just awesome. Hardman really nails the look of the different types of apes, and the humans play a bigger role than I thought they would. I thought it would be all ape stuff, but the humans are involved, and it kind of sets up where Dr. Zaius is when the first movie starts. So if you're a fan of Planet of the Apes, if you're looking for something that's a little more closely tied to the movie universe than the current ongoing series from Boom, I highly recommend Betrayal of the Planet of the Apes. I would be surprised if you don't like it.
All right, that was the tops for last week, and now we've got this week's best bets. We've got Amazing Spider-Man, $6.92. Dan Slott continues awesome Spider-Man stories. This is an oversized issue for the 50th anniversary of Spider-Man, and it promises to be great. Then we've got Before Watchmen, Dr. Manhattan #1. This is from a creative team of JMS, J. Michael Straczynski, and Adam Hughes, who's known for drawing pretty ladies. So, and
it should be noted that I cannot remember the last time Adam Hughes did interior work on a comic. Maybe in the last, but the store's been open for 7 years, and I don't remember any interior work by Adam Hughes, at least a full-length comic book. So this is a big deal to have Adam Hughes doing interior pencils. He's normally known, as Josh said, for his cheesecake covers for Catwoman or Fairest or Wonder Woman or what have you. So
Power Girl.
On that alone, you should pick it up. Because now he's drawing a big blue naked guy.
Right?
So.
That was your favorite part of Watchmen, right? And also we've got Joe Michael Straczynski, who has a great track record writing kind of sci-fi intellectual stuff, which should be right in Dr. Manhattan's wheelhouse. So I'm super excited about that.
Where is his wheelhouse?
His wheelhouse, it's in North Carolina.
Okay.
Yeah. Also new this week, Buffy the Vampire Slayer Spike #1. This is a series written by Victor Gischler, who you may remember also worked on some vampires, doing the Dracula stories for Marvel and the X-Men Curse of the Mutants story arc. So we get to find out Spike, who, if you've been reading Buffy, knows lives in some sort of steampunk spaceship powered by cockroaches. And that's all you need to know. Steampunk cockroaches. Why wouldn't you want to pick that up? Vampires in space. Also new this week, something we've been amped about ever since we heard about it. Rocketeer, Cargo of Doom #1. This is written by the Sometimes Daredevil team of Mark Waid and Chris Samnee. This is the first long-form Rocketeer story we've gotten since IDW started republishing them, and it promises to be awesome because Mark Waid has never disappointed me yet.
It is a 4-issue mini, so it's not an ongoing. It's a 4-issue miniseries, but Waid and Samnee doing Rocketeer, this is a no-brainer.
No-brainer. And we get a lot of questions at All Trio Comics. A lot of them are like, what kind of hair product does Mark use, or where do you get your t-shirts? But one I've been getting a lot lately is, I checked out Animal Man, the new issue, this crossover into the Rot. I've been reading Animal Man from issue 1. What can set me up? What can you tell me about this mystical swamp monster and his alabaster-haired paramour? Well, I can tell you everything this week when Swamp Thing Volume 1 from Scott Snyder comes out. This is your chance to catch up and set up for Rot World, or just go back and look at something that's been awesome from issue 1. Scott Snyder is one of the best writers working for DC, and he's definitely knocking it out of the park on Swamp Thing. On the stands is 1 through 7 or 1 through 6?
Yeah.
It's the first story arc, and it helps set up what's going on currently in the Rot World crossover with Animal Man. So you should be checking that out.
So yeah, Batman fans, if you're a Snyder fan, if you're a Batman fan, and you want to look at something different, even though we've been recommending American Vampire every week, maybe check out Swamp Thing, because Snyder really loves that character. I think that he was pitching this long before the New 52, and so now he's doing Swamp Thing. So, as always, there's no shortage of cool stuff coming out this week. You should definitely make a trip to your local comic book store. Hopefully that's us if you're in the area. If not, go to your local comic book store every Wednesday to check out all the cool new stuff, because that's when the new books show up, and we would like to see you then. So thank you again for watching, and we'll see you next time.